Kids, no matter where they are, always tend to be vulnerable to unseen risks. These videos captured paranormal activities, demonic possessions, and many other scary encounters in schools. So brace yourself, as you won't want to leave your kids at school after watching this. An ongoing class in rural areas of Thailand got interrupted when one of the students was suddenly taken over. The force was so strong that, despite the attempts of the teacher and many other students to hold her down, very easily overpowered by the power of the demon or devil that was in play here. After several minutes of the student levitating, they finally managed to bring the situation under control after the victim passed out in exhaustion. Dark Hood. A night custodian was reporting a ceiling leak in an empty, locked classroom when something unsettling appeared. The lights were dim, and the only sound was water dripping, until the camera moved across the desks and revealed what looked like a person sitting quietly. At first, it seemed ordinary, but the way it suddenly stood up and walked away felt unnatural, leaving the custodian shaken by what he had just witnessed. Rooftop Lurker. At the time of a graduation ceremony in the Philippines, an unsettling moment was captured when the camera panned across the crowd and revealed a strange figure standing on the rooftop of a nearby building, dressed in white and resembling a graduation gown. The figure appeared almost human at first glance, but remained completely still, silently watching the celebration below. The sight quickly drew attention, with many comparing it to the well-known White Lady, a figure often linked to tragic stories and wandering spirits. It is unclear if the students noticed it at the time, but the footage left viewers with a chilling and lasting impression. Hostile silhouette. Security guards who, after hearing reports of a strange, ghostly figure, installed cameras, one of which managed to capture the sighting. Within the blink of an eye, a silhouette could be seen brushing across the hallway. With the possibilities of this being some ghost boy rather than a human being, no further pursuing actions were taken anymore. Ghost Girl. A CCTV camera installed in a kindergarten classroom in Ontario, Canada, later captured something during the night that left the management uneasy. A small girl can be seen walking towards the exit, who seconds after appearing in the camera, turns around and looks right into it with glowing eyes and an evil smile. With the risk potential of it appearing in the classroom during regular hours, the school later decided to close down for further inspections and potentially dealing with the matter. Unseen performer. During a school performance, a video captured a moment that left viewers unsettled. As the students lined up and took a bow, a faint figure appeared behind one of the boys, seemingly joining in. The figure looked similar to the others, wearing a matching outfit and styled with pigtails, but it appeared semi-transparent and slightly out of place. It stood quietly behind the group before fading from attention. The clip quickly sparked debate, with some questioning whether it was something paranormal, while others suggested it could be a visual anomaly or a camera-related issue. Haunted class. During an evening class in a school in Bolivia, a series of dramatic interruptions started to occur. One of the attending students, after noticing a sudden paranormal activity, started recording, where at first, only a chart that was on display fell off. At first, no one appeared visibly shaken, until the situation escalated suddenly, as the table shifted forward by a foot. Just as the fear and silence took over the classroom in a pause, the classroom door violently started to slam, and the clip was cut off. Classroom ghost. Two friends who were studying late at night decided to take a break and go for a walk outside when they noticed something bizarre that started happening that very moment. They noticed that the lights in one of the classrooms were blinking very eerily, and as they got closer to investigate, chairs inside started to be tossed out. They both managed to get in and investigate, but didn't find anyone confirming their suspicion of this being some paranormal activity. Within moments of this, there was a sudden power outage, and for some reason, their camera stopped recording. Auditorium entity. After a seminar at a college in Pennsylvania, the location remains undisclosed, where a terrifying entity was spotted. Just as the auditorium emptied of the audience, one remained seated indefinitely. When it was time to close down, one of the organizers who approached this one last entity to ask it to leave, one of them started filming after noticing something very unusual about it. At first, it got up and walked through the chairs, until it suddenly went berserk. Though footage got cut off here, all of the bystanders here were reported to have made it out safely, though the exact nature of what this was, or happened here, is unknown. Bathroom ghost. A video shared by a group of Japanese schoolgirls has drawn attention after they claimed to capture something strange in their school bathroom. In the footage, one of the girls records as she carefully checks each stall before an unexpected figure briefly appears in the frame. The identity of the figure remains unknown, and the clip has sparked speculation about whether it could be linked to a local legend or simply an unusual visual moment. The incident has reminded many viewers of popular fictional ghost stories, leading to comparisons with well-known haunted school settings. Apparition walk-in. During a mock high school graduation drill being practiced indoors in New Mexico, a very strange activity began to unfold. Just as the principal was in the midst of a speech, an emergency door that was supposed to be locked somehow opened itself instantly, getting everyone's attention. Although a staff member closed the door, moments later, paranormal activity started to follow inside, as one of the objects, along with the hat of one of the students, was randomly tossed around, catching everyone in surprise. It is safe to assume that the ghost actually did decide to walk from outside and haunt the place while wanting everyone to know of its presence. Disturbing ghost. A group of students who had broken into their examination class late at night to steal the question sheet until their paths crossed with something very spooky. Just outside the class window, they noticed an unknown person who was staring at them from outside, which one of them attempted to interact with, only to find no one that was on the other side, even though the person was still visible from within. As soon as they all stepped out of the classroom to investigate, they suddenly heard the sound of a piano being played momentarily. With no one inside, they confirmed their suspicions that they indeed were being plagued by the presence of a ghost, which they reacted to by fleeing away in fear. Skinwalker trouble? This is a video that was filmed at a school in Tokyo on June 8th. 2024, showing a moment when an unknown, terrifying entity was reported to have entered the school perimeter. The students were advised to hide behind their desks, while the staff momentarily looked inside. According to the source of the clip, the intruder was later believed to be a humanoid, matching the description of a skinwalker. However, within a short while, the said intruder was believed to have gone away. Its exact nature remains unclear. Possessed student. Next to the parking, near the entrance of a university, a very bizarre moment was recorded on camera. A security guard, along with other students who were called in to restrain a student who was distributing admission pamphlets after he was suddenly taken over by something. After several minutes of calling for help, a church worker arrived on the scene to help. By then, the student had passed out, and the church worker performed some prayers before they decided to take him away for help. The student was later reported to have recovered days later without sustaining any serious issues. Residing demon. A former student who was visiting the abandoned ruins of what was his school once to refresh his memories, where he started picking up paranormal activity in broad daylight. At first, what he witnessed was only an open and shut case of the window, until he later made his way down the hall and noticed something that could only be best described as beastly that was peeping at him from behind the door, which it gradually shut the door to hid itself. Ceiling watcher. During a class at a school in San Diego, a student noticed something unusual above the ceiling tiles. After lifting one of the drop ceiling panels, he saw what appeared to be a pair of eyes staring directly at him from the darkness. The moment lasted for several minutes, prompting him to record it while trying to zoom in for a clearer view. The source of the eyes remained unclear, but the footage sparked speculation, with some linking it to reports of so-called black-eyed figures watching from hidden spaces. School goes. Footage recorded inside a school in Ireland shows a strange incident that was later linked to Deer Park School, with the event said to have occurred in early October 2017, captured by a hallway surveillance camera at around 3 a.m. The video shows lockers shaking on their own, followed by books and papers being thrown out onto the floor. Moments later, nearby doors begin slamming shut, and a floor sign is suddenly knocked over without anyone in sight. The unexplained activity quickly drew attention, with many describing it as possible poltergeist behavior. Haunted hallway. These two security guards from a school in Argentina, after noticing suspicious activity, started walking in the hallway on the 30th of May, 2024. The place that wasn't supposed to have lights on the guards started looking for a potential intruder or a burglar just as they were outside a classroom. One of the chairs moved on its own, which immediately terrified and confirmed their suspicions. Without looking any further, the guards immediately turned around and left the area. Perhaps these guards might look for a daytime job after this? Clown horror.
Attacked by a man in a clown suit just this morning, who then threatened to hurt students and staff at Reading schools.
On the morning of 30th November 2016, students from a school in Ohio were left terrified as they ran towards the exit when a clown appeared suddenly, leaving everyone terrified. According to reports, the clown had jumped at a woman and was described as creating fear on purpose among the students and staff members. The school management later installed additional security along with the police presence, instead of shutting down or postponing all the plans. Shaking seminar room. After hearing noise coming out from a locked seminar room, a groundskeeper of a school who was working late decided to investigate. Grabbing his large flashlight, made his way towards the seminar room. Within moments after he made the entrance, noticed all the chairs that suddenly started moving, almost as if they were all being dragged all together towards the exit. The groundskeepers furthermore turned on the lights to show this wasn't something that was being made up, but was something very paranormal. Wandering souls. In an episode, Lost Souls of Kingman of Ghost Adventures, two seasoned paranormal investigators decided to explore a school that was built on top of an ancient cemetery. In the first hour, they didn't notice or hear anything until they decided to shift and enter the cafeteria. Here, just as they entered, they heard a faint voice, as if something told them not to enter. Later, they returned to the locker hallway, a place that was just above where 60 graves were reported to have been located. This time, it wasn't long as they started to pick up from faint noise to sudden movement and the opening of a locker door. Unexpected activity. Different cases, a night security guard who was patrolling found a very unusual kind of activity, even for a paranormal one. In the playground, he noticed one of the exercise machines seemed to be moving on its own, with no visible strings attached anywhere around. In another case, after hearing noise coming from a basketball court, the guard checked the security camera, where he noticed, despite the area being locked and isolated, it looked like something that was not visible was playing with the ball anyhow. The paranormal activities in both these cases seem to be very specific. Haunted apartment. One of the concerned tenants from an apartment complex in Acapulco, Mexico, filmed what they believed was a ghost that was staring them. That very room was said to have remained vacant for a while, where every tenant reported seeing this very entity every time they left or arrived at the place. The nature of their mystery only sharpened as the management refused to comment or address the concern, citing it under the confidentiality rule. However, rumor has it that this room was a place where some tragedy occurred and is now haunted by the soul of its victim. Silent spirit. Construction workers, along with the fire crew, were working on the debris of a school roof that had collapsed. Now, although the school was closed down as students were on vacation, one of the bystanders, however, I noticed this very suspicious-looking figure that was peacefully sitting inside and was continuously peeping at the recorder who was filming it. Initially, everyone believed this incident was caused by unchecked maintenance issues. The recorder, however, believes it was done by this very ghostly spirit that he managed to capture on camera. What do you think about this? Do share your opinion down in the comments. Abandoned school entity. An abandoned school that a vlogger was exploring near Morocco's Azrou area, where, only minutes after entering the premises, started picking up paranormal activity. After being convinced that this indeed was paranormal, he started reciting religious verses for spiritual protection. After carefully looking around, there was a moment when things got even scarier as the entity made a physical appearance from the other side of the wall. Apart from its spooky-looking face, his hair and body were more or less dark as it looked completely untidy. Library poltergeist. CCTV footage dating to 24/8 July 2016 shows moments when a public library, long after closing hours, appeared to experience unexplained activity, as a book was seen lifting off a shelf on its own before suddenly dropping back down, while an object hanging from the ceiling began spinning without any visible cause, and in another instance, an employee arranging items on a shelf witnessed them being pulled away and thrown to the floor repeatedly, leaving those who reviewed the footage convinced that something unusual was present within the library. Escalated activity. In a long abandoned school that a group of young paranormal investigators decided to explore, where just moments after a spirit made its presence and intentions known, something very scary followed. In panic, they immediately dialed 911 and waited for the help to arrive, which took nearly 10 minutes. After they gave their statement of the series of events that followed, the cops decided to investigate the building and were sweeping the area, but moments later decided to call off. Ransacking spirit. After repeatedly finding their belongings scattered and damaged without any signs of forced entry, the family decided to install security cameras around the house. What the cameras recorded was unusual doors slowly opening on their own, lights flickering without any clear reason, and furniture shifting as if something unseen was moving it. No person ever appeared in the footage, yet the activity continued. The family was left with no explanation, and the situation made them question whether they were truly alone in the home. Paranormal disturbance. This clip, shared on TikTok, TikTok and reportedly recorded at Pocatello High School in Idaho, USA during the 2014 school holidays shows surveillance camera footage from a quiet hallway where unusual interference suddenly appears. The security guard was reviewing the footage, looking for culprits after reports of damage on site. In the recordings, they noticed distortions and shifts, drawing attention to the strange visual disruption in an otherwise empty school setting. When no one was found on the premises, it started to raise the question that the school might have turned haunted and become a refuge for paranormal entities while being temporarily closed. Unmoving presence. While patrolling an area, two security guards noticed what they thought was a young woman who was sitting inside a warehouse that was supposed to be deserted. They attempted several times to call and get the attention of the woman, but couldn't walk in as they didn't have the keys. According to them, while they stood there for several minutes from the moment of spotting until the end of the clip, this entity didn't even flinch. It started to give them a vibe that this wasn't some ordinary female, but a supernatural entity that was taking a physical form, especially since it would have been impossible for a real person to get in there undetected. Take a chair. A school teacher in Mexico was just about to leave an empty classroom when he noticed a bizarre development that he decided to film on camera. In the clip, he can be seen straightening out a chair according to the row, where moments later, as he is walking away, the chair gets tilted back to its original position. Additional movements can be heard along with that, which immediately confirmed the suspicions of the teacher of that particular chair being haunted. Summoned apparition. This group of young paranormal investigators who, while exploring an abandoned school, discovered what looked like a ritual site. As one of them had found a book with spells, he jokingly decided to recite them, and just as he wasn't expecting anything to follow, but then this happened. Within seconds, they started to feel disturbance around them until they noticed a strange, terrifying figure that suddenly appeared right on the marked spot before leaving them all terrified, where within span of few seconds it disappeared as well. Could it be that they almost summoned an entity from the dark dimension and only dodged it very nearly? Paranormal intruder. In the middle of the night, this lone homeowner was awakened by a noise that was coming from the toilet across the hallway. Just as she noticed the moving toilet seat and rushed back to her room, it followed her, and moments later, the paranormal activity started to happen in the room, from moving furniture to aggressively flickering with lights. This paranormal entity started to haunt this lone homeowner, and after her camera stopped recording, she decided to leave the flat out of safety concerns. How or from where this paranormal entity came from remains a mystery. Mysterious designs. During an early morning class, the teacher who walked in noticed strange markings on the board. Initially, this was thought to have been done by one of the students. Still, after questioning and seeing the terrified body language, it wasn't long before they too concluded that this was the doing of some paranormal entity. While some say it is designs that were drawn, others believed it to be something like footprints, as it looked very much like the case. Spooky figure. At the time of the opening of the school, a staff member discovered a very spooky figure in one of the classrooms. He was in the midst of filming every classroom, to be clear, as per the rules just before the examination, when he not only noticed the entity, but also caught it on camera. As terrifying as it looked, the figure never showed any hostile intent, and its nature of purpose also remains a mystery. Before the security could step in and deal with the matter, it managed to disappear out of thin air. Unexpected interruption. While doing a dumbbell workout at home, a man noticed his front door slowly opening by itself. Assuming someone was playing a prank, he stepped outside to check, but found no one around. When he came back inside, things became even stranger. His decorations began falling one after another without any visible cause. As the tension in the room grew and the disturbances continued, he chose to leave the house for a while, unsure of what was behind the unsettling activity. Elevator spirit. A security camera inside a hospital elevator reportedly captured a disturbing moment involving a nurse and a patient in a wheelchair. As the nurse stood beside the patient, a dark, human-like figure suddenly appeared in the confined space, seemingly emerging without warning. Within seconds, it moved across the elevator and vanished straight through the wall. The nurse, visibly shaken, rushed out, leaving the patient behind in shock. The incident was later reviewed by hospital staff, and the footage eventually surfaced online, drawing widespread attention and leaving viewers unsettled by what it appeared to show. Stalking Silhout. This recording of a CCTV camera of a jewelry store in Mumbai caught a bizarre moment where something very odd appeared. At first, it was thought to be another person in the parking lot until it brushes over the area mid-air, following the person of interest being only a couple of inches away from him. As the clip was later reviewed and went viral on the internet, most called it a ghost sighting, others that it was a demon that was about to possess the man, and the rest that this could have been a grim reaper. However, this case, along with others, remains just as mysterious. Figure in white. University students who were living in an apartment that was just a short distance away from their campus, where they captured a very weird sighting. By the edge of the cemetery, they noticed this weird woman who was dressed in white appeared out of nowhere and was randomly moving around all over the graves, plucking grass and flowers among the many similar abnormal behaviors.
Touching other people's graves!
Despite their several attempts to get its attention, it showed exactly no normal human behavior that made them just as curious about its nature as they were creeped out.
You see how she tripped over that tombstone?
Phantom encounter. Late at night, a young man stood outside an apartment and knocked, but received no response. Moments later, a child's bicycle rolled into view from around the corner, moving slowly down the hallway on its own. As the door suddenly opened, an unseen force appeared to push him violently back against the opposite wall. In the chaos, he caught a glimpse of a faint, shadowy figure emerging from inside before it quickly disappeared. Demolishing school. This really old ruins of a school that was in the midst of demolishing, where a man decided to explore for salvage until he was interrupted. From the darkness appeared this dark, shady figure that stood idly staring right towards him. Instead of moving or flying through the air, it seemed to fall onto the ground and disappear instantly. Behind the horror of the encounter, he decided to turn around and flee to safety. Guard taken over. In preparation for a project, a group of students decided to stay back at school after dark when bizarre events suddenly started to follow. After feeling the presence of a demon among themselves, they all rushed towards the roof in panic while calling security. The guard who came for their aid, however, the guard who appeared moments later, seemed to have been taken over by the ghost. Creepy balloon. In late November 2023, a janitor who had just started working at the school that was believed to have been built on an ancient cemetery, as he began to notice creepy activity. While cleaning up one of the classrooms, he noticed one of the balloons in red that slowly started to move and follow him. He started filming and sharing his encounter on his TikTok profile at SkiBoy2Digit. After taking notice for a few days, he consulted the security guard and showed him his recording, which left the guard terrified. As he started getting viral, many viewers started to tune in more often, hoping for updates. Late night reveal. A night guard was watching over the CCTV cameras when he noticed the sudden appearance of what he thought was a girl walking across the locker hallway. However, the guard immediately felt something that was quite off. As the students were away for summer vacation, just as he looked closely, he noticed this girl's figure looked more like she was possessed by some demon. It appeared only for a couple of seconds, and after staring directly into the camera, it disappeared. Now it's time for the subscribers' pick of the day. On January 29th, 2024, during a school dance performance in a high school in Wisconsin, a group of students was being recorded as they carried out their routine, drawing attention with their coordinated movements. However, as the footage continued, something unusual appeared in the background. Along the back wall, a shadowy figure briefly streaked across, moving in a hunched, gliding manner before disappearing out of view. The movement did not match any visible light source, and no other shadows were cast in the same direction, making it stand out even more. The strange motion and lack of explanation left viewers unsettled, as the brief moment suggested that something unexpected had passed through the scene, unnoticed by those present.